Welcome to this Prezi, which will focus on some of the functions of apostrophes. Apostrophes have two main uses in the English language. They stand in for something that is missing, and they can be used to make a word possessive. A contraction takes the place of a missing letter or missing letters in a word, such as haven't for have not or won't for will not. In formal academic writing, contractions are normally not acceptable. Sometimes writers get confused about its and its. The it with the apostrophe s is the contraction that stands in for it is. For example, it's a treat to spend the day at the fair equals it is a treat to spend the day at the fair. On the other hand, its without the apostrophe is a possessive pronoun, just like hers, ours, yours, and theirs, none of which take an apostrophe. For example, the fair celebrated its 15th anniversary. You can check to see whether the contraction or the possessive pronoun makes sense. The fair celebrated its 15th anniversary would not make sense. Just remember this rule for its and its. Use the apostrophe only when its is short for it is. The same rule applies for another commonly confused pair, whose and whose. Whose means who is, and whose is the possessive pronoun. Remember, not all words ending in s require an apostrophe before the s. Do not confuse the plural form of a word with the possessive form. Use the plural form to indicate more than one of something. For example, I bought 1 sandwich and 2 drinks. The plurals of nouns are generally formed by adding s or es. For example, I made 2 sandwiches and ate them before heading over to John's house. By adding an apostrophe and an s, you can change most singular nouns into their possessive forms. Use the possessive form of a noun or indefinite pronoun to indicate ownership, as in Harry's wand, the professor's desk, or anyone's hat. If you are not sure whether a noun is possessive, try turning it into an of phrase. The wand of Harry, the desk of the professor, the hat of anyone. Errors with the possessive form are common. You may have noticed such errors on flyers, signs, and so on. A sign stating beets for $4 is confusing because the apostrophe is unnecessary. Does it mean that 1 beet costs $4? The sign maker should have written beets for $4 to indicate that a bunch of beets is $4. Thankfully, there are ways to fix these errors. Here's when to add an apostrophe followed by an s to a noun to indicate possession. If the noun you want to make possessive does not end in s, add apostrophe s. For example, the comedian's career was long and fruitful, or the children's rooms were decorated for the holiday. Indefinite pronouns refer to no specific person or thing. Everyone, someone, no one. You can form the possessive of indefinite pronouns by simply adding an apostrophe and an s to them. For example, someone's scarf was left in the lobby, and it's anyone's guess. If the noun is plural and ends in s, add only an apostrophe. For example, both teachers' classrooms are filled with memories. To show joint possession, use apostrophe s or s apostrophe with the last noun only. To show individual possession, make all nouns possessive. Have you seen Tina and Amy's new movie? In this example, Tina and Amy jointly star in the movie together. Tom's and Anna's ideas of comedic timing could not have been more different. In this example, Tom and Anna individually have different ideas about comedic timing. Watch for clues in the sentence, such as the plural ideas, to help you decide if the sentence is discussing joint or individual possession. Here is an example of joint possession, where the second noun is both a plural and a possessive. The professor's and the student's ideas of comedic timing could not have been more different. If a noun is compound, use apostrophe s or s apostrophe with the last element. For example, my mother-in-law's dentist appointment took 5 hours. My in-law's mobile home is gigantic. First names are proper nouns and they can be made plural and possessive just like other regular nouns. For instance, 3 women named Anne are 3 Annes, and the coats the Annes are wearing are the 3 Annes' coats. If you are talking about one Anne in particular, you could say, Anne's coat is blue. Making a last name plural should never involve an apostrophe. The members of the Smith and the Black families, for instance, are the Smiths and the Blacks. Last names ending in s are no different. The members of the Jones family are the Joneses. Sometimes you will need to use an apostrophe with the last name to indicate possession. Last names that do not end in s become singularly possessive by adding apostrophe s. For example, Mr. Smith's yard is the talk of the neighborhood. For a last name that ends in s, indicate possession by adding only the apostrophe. Mrs. Jones's tennis racket needs to be restrung. Please note that Mrs. Jones's tennis racket is also acceptable, but you need to be consistent throughout your writing. Remember, if a last name ends in s, you must add es to form the plural. Such plural last names require only an apostrophe if you are showing possession. For example, the Joneses' car is a less than subtle color, bubblegum pink. An apostrophe is typically not used to pluralize numbers and abbreviations. Do not use an apostrophe in the plural of any numbers, including decades. For example, Jane Austen was born in the 1700s. Do not use an apostrophe to pluralize an abbreviation. For example, many of her friends have earned PhDs. Thank you for viewing this presentation.